So, for today's activity, you are going to click on lesson 13, or it might say read Antarctic Journal. Antarctic Journal, 4 months at the bottom of the world. November 12th. Depart from home in the early morning to be gone 4 months to Antarctica, a part of the planet as remote as the moon in its own way. The woman sitting next to me on the shuttle is headed for San Antonio, Texas. She has more luggage than I do. For millions of years, Antarctica, the fifth largest continent, has been in the grip of an ice age. It is the windiest, coldest, most forbidding region on Earth, and I am heading straight for it. Goodbye, America, I whisper as the airplane heaves off the ground with a shuddering roar. See you later. We flew from Miami to Santiago, Chile. Early the next morning, we boarded a plane bound for Punta Punta Arenas, a town at the southern tip of Chile. We landed and were driven to a hangar-like building where we received our Antarctic clothing issue on loan for the length of our stay to be returned when we head back. For the next stop was the pier, where the Polar Duke, our ship, was tied up. I was shown to my cabin, a space so tiny I wish I were an elf. A desk and chair are bolted to the floor. The bedding is a well padded sleeping bag. We're off this morning. Clear skies, cool breeze, and no chop. The ship heaves and rolls like the smallish, sturdy, seaworthy vessel it is. I make a nest in one of the boats, tied on deck, a cozy spot to spend hours drawing or just looking. I resist going below to sleep or eat. There is too much to take in. Rolling seas, salt spray, broad-winged seabirds soaring inches above the wave tops. The sun never sets. It's lower and rolls lazily along the northern horizon before rising again. I shiver with anticipation when we leave the calm waters of the Beagle Channel and enter Drake Passage. 2 days pass and we cross the Antarctic convergence. Along this invisible line, warm northern water meets cold southern water. The layering of warm and cold and the upwelling that results creates ideal conditions for an abundance of life in the seas. From the convergence on, we are in Antarctica. A day later, the ship's motor stops humming. From the bridge, I look out over the bow. A group of whales breaks the surface of the sea, spy hopping heads pointing straight up out of the water. They slap their flukes and roll playfully. Humpbacks, one of the crew says. Whales have the right of way in these waters. We stop when we see them, turn the engines off, and let them pass before we start up again. It's good to know an ocean exists where whales have the right of way over ships. November 18th, Palmer Station. Dear T, Palmer Station is a group insulated metal buildings housing 50 people comfortably. The station was built on Anvers Island. You don't know you're on an island because permanent ice fills the gap between Anvers and the mainland. We learned the rules the first night. No travel alone except to climb the glacier behind Palmer, flagged with poles to show the safest way up. We sign out when leaving, giving a departure hour and an estimated time of return. We are given walkie-talkies and check with base every hour. If we're half an hour off schedule, someone comes looking, unless a storm blows in. If it's too dangerous for anyone to come after us, we are expected to wait out the bad weather. The sunscreen they pass out is the only kind strong enough. We are ordered never to forget to use it. Tomorrow we learn about the Zodiacs, small rubber boats with outboard motors. I'm excited about what comes next and sleepy. Much love, Mom. And there's a picture of the room, a view looking away from Palmer Station. That's what they dress like for field work. November 27th, Litchfield Island. In fair weather, I go to Litchfield Island and spend the day, sometimes the night. Litchfield is 3 miles from Palmer by Zodiac, a protected island visited by 2 or 3 people a year. Before going to Litchfield, I'm shown how to walk on open ground in Antarctica. An inch of moss takes 100 years to grow. The careless scuff of a boot heel could rip out 200 years of growth in seconds. I pack my food and extra clothes in a waterproof sea bag. A day pack holds pencils, pens, and paper for drawing and writing. There is no fresh water on the island. I carry 2 1-gallon canteens. Each island has an emergency cache of food and supplies marked with a flag, available if a person gets stranded during a storm. Alone after being dropped on the island, I hear birds call, the whine of the wind, the waves pounding gravel shores, and no human sounds except my breathing. Twilight falls and I crawl into my tent, alert and unable to sleep for a long time, listening to the sounds of the Antarctic night. The the emergency cache on Litchfield contained a tarp, blankets, rope, candles, matches, anchovy paste, crackers, and chocolate. December 15th. Visiting Old Palmer. Dear B, I am in a tiny office behind the kitchen. Supper is over. I came to find quiet time and write you. It's strange to write at night by the light of the sun. Today I went with a penguin scientist to Old Palmer, 20 minutes by Zodiac from New Palmer. Here's a little picture of the boat, the Zodiac boat. Not used for years, the base is empty of life, except for a small colony of Gentoo penguins. A few of the birds have built stone nests on top of abandoned oil drums and other debris left behind. The chicks have orange spots on their bills and are identical to the parents, only smaller. They sit half squashed under a parent's white belly, black-billed faces poking out, eyes blinking. A sunny day, 32 degrees, dangerously hot for the chicks. The chicks. I've seen some keel over dead on days like this, their blubber-rich bodies unable to tolerate temperatures above freezing. A parent penguin suffering heat stroke will not abandon a nest. It will fall dead in a heap first. We had a scary encounter on the way back from Old Palmer. A pair of orcas was in Arthur Harbor. They swam near the surface, sleek backs glistening. These enormous predators sometimes take bites out of the boats, mistaking a zodiac for a seal or a penguin. We slowed the engine and held back. A small group of Andeles was porpoising in the water. In a quick stroke, one orca grabbed a penguin in its huge mouth and whirled the helpless bird in the air. So an orca is a killer whale. The bird was stripped of its hide as easily as we remove a sweater. The second orca took a penguin before the pair surged out of the harbor, leaving a swirling wake behind. We sped back to Palmer, aware that what we'd seen was a reminder that we are in a wilderness where a delicate balance exists between predator and prey. I'm tired, although I have the big eye. This is when we can't sleep because it's never dark. We get silly and wide-eyed peculiar in our behavior until a friend says time for bed and sees that we get there. Love and hugs, Jay. December 20th, Palmer Station. I have learned that the largest animal on Earth, the 100-ton blue whale, eats only one of the smallest animals on Earth, krill. There are more krill in the seas than there are stars in the visible universe. Krill is one link in a simple food chain. Penguins, seals, and whales eat krill. In turn, the tiny shrimp-like krill eat plankton, one-celled plants that bloom in the sea in spring and summer. My new friend Carl, an oceanographer, said we ought to try eating krill since so many animals thrive on it. In the biolab, we scooped krill into a jar. We got a small fry pan, then melted butter and cooked up the krill. Someone said add garlic. Somebody said, how about pepper and salt? These were added. When the mixture looked ready, we ate it. Tastes like butter, one person said. More like garlic, another said. Tastes like butter and garlic, Carl said. Krill don't have their own taste, I concluded. December 21st, Palmer Station. A storm has raged for 3 days. A blast of wind smacked the main window with such force we thought a bomb had gone off. The storm rose in intensity in minutes. Looking out the big window, we see a solid wall of sleet and blowing snow. A friend and I checked the wind speed monitor a few hours ago. It was clocking 80 knots. We decided to sneak outside and see what 80-knot winds feels like. It's against the rules to leave the protection of the station in such high winds. Nobody saw us leave. We were barely able to force the door open against the gale. Head down, face stung with driven sleet, I leaned with all my weight on the wind and did not fall over. Fearing I'd be blown away, I pressed my mittened hands on the side of the building. We crawled on our hands and knees, lashed by pellets of frozen rain. In 5 minutes we were back inside. Thinking of the penguins and their chicks on Litchfield, I can't help wondering how many will die of the exposure to the cold and wet. Christmas Eve, December 24th, Palmer Station. It was 3 in the morning, bright outside. I couldn't sleep. I crept downstairs, signed out, and took the flagged trail up the glacier. Dressed in a watchman's cap, 3 layers under my parka, and swirl boots, I climbed in a stillness broken only by the noise of snow crunching under my soles. Greenish purple clouds covered the sky from edge to edge. The sea was the color of pewter. Near the top, I heard a cracking sound, a slap magnified a million times in my ear. Another fall, then another, echoes of sound. Aftershocks sizzled in the air. The sky began to glow with an eerie luminesque, as if luminescence, as if someone in the heavens had switched on a neon light in place of the sun. I felt myself dropping straight down. A crack had appeared under me, a crevice in the glacier. Summer softening of the ice had thrown the pole settings off. I'm alive because the crack was narrow. I fell to my shoulders, my boot soles too wide to fit through the bottom of the crack. I stared below in a blue-green hole, cut with the face facets like a diamond. After a few deep breaths, I began to scramble out, terrified the crack would keep growing. I moved slowly. It was an hour before I was on firm ice. The color of the sky shifted to blue-gray with streaks of yellow along the western horizon. To my horror, I saw a pattern of cracks zigzagging like fractured window glass across the glacier surface. I checked my watch. I'd been gone 3 hours. I don't know why, but I didn't want anyone rescuing me. I decided to crawl down the glacier on hands and knees. I felt my way inch by inch, rubbing the surface of the snow with my palms before making my move. Before the hour, someone would have come looking for me. I told the station manager what happened. Trained in glaciology, he went up the glacier to reset the flags. I have a new weariness tonight, born of having been frightened out of my wits while watching one of the most beautiful skies I've ever seen, or I've of the most beautiful skies I'll ever see. So he's very the narrator is very tired. Born of having been frightened out of my wits while watching one of the most beautiful skies I'll ever see. So wonder what the narrator's frightened about. Probably because there was cracks in the ice and they were frightened because they did not, or the narrator did not want to the ice to break, continue to, the cracks to grow, and for um the narrator to be, just for didn't want the ice to break, that's all. That would be frightening. February 16th on the Polar Duke. So that's the boat. I'm along on a trip of the Polar Duke, north of Palmer in Gerla Gerlashe Strait. The crew and scientists trawl for krill using fine mesh nets dropping off the stern. Coming back, we see icebergs drifting south out of the Wendell Sea. The bergs originate hundreds of miles away and ride ocean currents. We sail close, but not too close, for beneath the waves is where the bulk of an iceberg is. So, underneath the water surface, the bulk of a iceberg is underneath there. It's not sticking above water. Majority of it is underneath the water. Seawater splashes up. Let me see. Sorry. Seawater splashes up on iceberg shores, shaped by years of wave action. Sunlight strikes gleaming ramparts that shine with rainbow colors. Erosion works at the ice, creating caves and hollows, coves and inlets. Penguins and seals hitch rides on icebergs. Gulls and other seabirds rest on high points. One iceberg collides in slow motion with another. The smaller one topples, rolls, and heaves like a dying rhinoceros. Emerald seawater mixed with spray, drenching its surfaces. I yearn to ride an iceberg like a penguin or a gull, touching its frozen sides, drifting slowly on the waves. I draw them, but I can't capture their splendor. March 12th, winging home. Before leaving, I collected, with permission, a sterile penguin egg that would never hatch. I made room for it in my suitcase by giving a lot of my clothes away. The airline lost my bag in Miami. I told the airline people that I had to have it back, pleading, begging. It has a penguin egg in it, I said. They glanced at each other and eyed me funny. Fortunately for me and them, they found the bag. The egg reminds me of my trip to the place where penguins raise downy chicks. Krill swarm in numbers greater than stars in the sky. Whales have rights, and icebergs drift in graceful arcs across southern ocean swells. At home, I'll look out at the desert landscape and remember the Antarctic desert, the last great wilderness on Earth. Okay, so this is a journal about the narrator's trip to Antarctica. So maybe you've been on vacation before and you wrote a little bit about your vacation each day, or if you have a journal or diary that you might write in. That's what this is. This is like this person wanted to document their trip and everything they saw. Um, so now what I want you to do is you're going to go back to the classroom and you are going to click on, if you didn't do vocabulary and spelling, you're going to do that. Your spelling words are listed here, and you're going to sort them in the appropriate category and then put the words, fill in the spelling words in the appropriate blank. Your vocabulary words, you will need to review these words before doing this activity. You have to write, I just did the first one for you. So, like a public showing, I would click up here. This word means show. That's the definition. So display, I would write over here. Or the next one is left helpless. Stranded means left helpless. So this, so you're going to list the vocabulary word that goes with its definition, and you can um, use this here to help you. So there's also, so that slides 2 and 6 need to be handed in if they're not handed in, turned in. So also, whenever you go to my classroom, you can, the first assignment, you can click on this, these slides, and if you click on Quizlet, there's a little link that comes up. And there's flashcards that you can practice. You can practice. So display, what's the definition of display? Shown publicly. Then you can go to the next one, fully aware and paying attention. You could, um, sorry for these weird ads. Yeah, let me get out of here. Okay. Well, I can't seem to get out of this. So you can go ahead and practice the flashcards on Quizlet. Um, so these slides are practicing. Um, I would like you to watch the video. You can here's another read aloud I that you can listen to his friends. ED is just a normal everyday kind of letter. So this a lot of our spelling words end with ED or ING. So you can listen to this video. Um, and also there some of the words have Greek and Latin parts, and here they are with spec, struct, telly, and viz. Um, and you can watch this video as well. Again, here's our vocabulary words: display, alert, standards, vision, huddle, weariness, fractured, graceful, stranded, and concluded. Um, at the last slide 9 has a bunch of stories that you can read and listen to that are really good stories. And you can always take the AR test after reading any of these stories um, to get more points for AR. So I'm going to go again back to the classroom. So again, this is what I would like you to do. I'm going to remind you. You're going to listen to what I obviously, hopefully, now you're listening to the video. You're going to complete slide 2 and 6 of the vocabulary and spelling if you have not done so already. And I also had told you that slide 2 will be due for, we're doing one a day. So I would like you to try to do this one on your own um, for today. Remember, a proper noun is a specific person, place, or thing, and they're always capitalized. Answer the question with a complete sentence. Do you like to play soccer? So you answer that question with a complete sentence. Rewrite the sentence correctly. I can tell you that the contraction aren't is not spelled right. The apostrophe replaces the vowel in the word not, not, so it'd be aren't, and the apostrophe should be after the N. In soccer, you aren't allowed to touch, it's not the right to spell to correctly. Touch the ball with your hands. Your is not spelled correctly, and then there's missing punctuation at the end of the word. At the end of the sentence. Imagine that you are watching a soccer game. In each of the spaces on the soccer ball, write a verb. A verb is an action word that tells what you might be, that the soccer players would be doing. What actions are they doing? So you're going to write all the things that you may see the soccer players doing. Um, use two of your verbs in a sentence. So you could write the soccer players, and then you pick whatever verbs that you want that you have in your soccer ball to write a complete sentence. Fill in the blanks with the correct homophone. Remember, homophones are words that sound alike, but they have different meanings and are spelled differently. And you do not have to do this little star here, so you just ignore that. But up here again, it says tell what the narrator does on each day. So you have to, this is comprehension. So you have to go back in the paragraph and write what they did each day. The narrator does each day. So that's slide 2. Do not turn this assignment in because it's 4 days of slides. We're only on day 2. So number 1, listen to Antarctic Journal. Number 2, make sure you have the dot done for the second slide for tomorrow, and sorry, for Wednesday, and make sure your vocabulary and spelling slides 2 and 6 are completed. And then because the vocabulary and spelling assignment was due yesterday, to was due on Tuesday, Wednesday's assignment is this. You're going to listen again to, you're going to read. You can read the text by clicking on lesson 13 or read Antarctic Journal and clicking on the text to read it to yourself. But you will need it up. You'll need this assignment up, or you'll need this story up because there's gonna be questions here to answer. How long does it take an inch of moss to grow in Antarctica? It says page 378. So, 1 second here. Page 378. See, this isn't the same page numbers. So you have to go back and look to answer the questions. So the answer is actually on page 267. It says, before going to Litchfield, I'm shown how to walk on open ground in Antarctica. An inch of moss takes 100 years to grow. The careless scuff of a boot heel could rip out 200 years of growth in seconds. So I had to go back and find the answer. So the question was, how long does it take an inch of moss to grow in Antarctica? So you need to answer with a complete sentence. It takes, and I can use the magnifying glass and blow it up. It takes, I can even make my color a little, I'm going to highlight it and make it a different color. It takes 100 years, or you could say the moss takes 100 years to grow in Antarctica. Okay, that is a complete sentence. You need to answer with a complete sentence. What is available for people who get stranded during a storm? What is available? Hmm. So each island has an emergency cache of food supplies marked with a flag, available if a person gets stranded during a storm. So, each so what is available for people who get stranded during a storm? An emergency cache is available for people who become stranded in a storm, period. So again, I have to go back and find the answers to these questions. And honestly, like sometimes I don't remember the answer. Most of the times I don't remember the answer, so I have to go back into the reading. What is special about Litchfield Island? So you could restate the question. Litchfield Island is special because. I'm just highlighting it. Oh, see if I know I spelled a word wrong if it's underlined in red. So I now remember it's a proper noun because it's a specific place, so you need to capitalize the L and the I. Litchfield Island is special because let's find out. Why is Litchfield special? Litchfield is 3 miles from Palmer by Zodiac, a protected island visited by 2 or 3 people a year. Wow, there's not very many people that can go there. It's a protected island visited by 2 or 3 people a year. So hardly any people, human beings, have been to this place because it is protected. It is a protected island, and only 2 or 3 people visit there a year. And I'm just going to highlight this and make it red so everybody can see it pretty well. Go back.